Hello, and welcome back to Inner Alchemy Alcove. If you are new here, my name is Lauren Rose, and I'm the inner work guide here on this channel. Today, we're going to be finishing up our discussion on resistance. We will be exploring the impact of resistance on our lives and uncover the practical strategies for overcoming that resistance. The real-life examples will witness firsthand the detrimental effects of prolonged resistance on our mental and emotional well-being. And yes, we'll just talk about the elephant in the room, the undeniable connection between resistance and the symptoms of anxiety, depression, and other mental health conditions. By the end of this video, my intention is that you will be empowered to recognize the signs of resistance within your own life and be able to take proactive steps to address them head on. So without further ado, let's dive in. Resistance, whether it's fear of change, avoidance of discomfort, or attachment to familiar patterns, they can all have a profound impact on our mental health. When we resist confronting our fears, processing difficult emotions, or embracing growth opportunities, we create internal tension and conflict that can manifest as symptoms of anxiety, depression, and other mental health conditions. Recognizing the signs of resistance within our lives is essential for understanding when we may be facing these internal barriers to growth and change. Here are some common signs that can help you indicate presence of resistance within your own life. Procrastination and avoidance. Putting off tasks or avoiding situations that evoke discomfort or challenge may indicate resistance within your life. This could include delaying important decisions, avoiding difficult conversations, or procrastinating on goals or projects. We see this a lot within relationships, with the partner is very avoidant of maybe upsetting their partner, so they try to avoid situations, or it ends up blowing up into a bigger situation. And then also procrastination. We know that maybe getting certain things done will make our lives a lot easier, but we still procrastinate. That's definitely signs of resistance within our own bodies and within our lives. Negative self-talk. Persistent self-criticism, self-doubt, or pervasive sense of unworthiness may signal underlying resistance. Negative self-talk can sabotage our efforts to pursue our goals and undermine our confidence and self-esteem. One of the biggest things that I learned on my healing journey and just through my education on psychology, especially understanding our subconscious mind, is that our words and how we talk to ourselves really do matter, because how basically what we're conditioned to associate words with. So for some people, certain words may not have a negative connotation, but in other cultures or societies, it is. So the way we talk to ourselves is very important, and especially when we're using the words I am, or saying like I can't. Stuff like this subconsciously is kind of telling our nervous system that attempting to do those tasks is unsafe then, because we've already decided that we can't do these things. And it's not only a safety thing, it's also like your mind won't even look for opportunities to do those things. It's like you kind of erased it off the radar for yourself. So when it's important to say like, I haven't done this yet, instead of I can't do it. Even if it's something that you've tried and failed, it's okay. Never say that you just done and can't do it. You never know. With new skills and with new knowledge and wisdom, maybe you can in the future. So don't write yourself off and put yourself in a box, right? And limit yourself to possibilities. Fear of change. Resistance often manifests as fear of stepping outside of our comfort zones or making changes in our lives. We may cling on to our familiar routines, habits, or relationships, even if they are no longer serving us, out of fear of the unknown or fear of failure. Now, what I want to say about this is fear is a very primal safety mechanism. It's not something that we should ignore or try to bypass. Instead, maybe try to work on opening our tolerance for certain things if it's serving you and it's going to help you get towards your goals. But certainly never try to bypass your signals for fear. They're there for a reason. And if the more you try to, we want to work through our resistance, but not in a way that's going to send us into shutdown or be too much and make us give up, right? So make sure that if you are feeling fear, that you feel into it and you try to understand where it's coming from, and you ask yourself those questions. Is this fear valid? I don't want to say valid, because of course it's valid. Is this fear maybe something that we can work on? Is it going to help me achieve my goals? Me doing this YouTube channel is me stepping outside of my comfort zone and facing my fears of change and putting myself out there. I'm someone who tends to play small. Like, I have big goals and I tend to go after them, but I tend to do it very quietly and try not to take up too much space, right? And because of that, it's kind of held me back, right? And I kind of have self-sabotaged myself in those ways. So stepping outside of my normal routines, it does mess with my nervous system. I can literally feel the dysregulation. And what I've learned is the only way for me to be able to increase my tolerance is to slowly start facing my fears, like going out into big public spaces, little bits at a time. I'm not gonna just, throw myself into a huge festival without a safety person and all those things. But going on walks in public in the city, even though I do bring my dog, who helps me feel safe. It's just little things like that. I'm facing my fears, putting myself out there. All of this is gonna help with my growth. But I had to face my resistance and kind of talk myself through it and actually cultivate safety within my body in order, and kind of tiptoe my way to get to this space of feeling safe enough to be on video and creating videos on YouTube. So if you feel this as well, maybe this is something you might want to work on too. Especially if your trauma stems from a place of especially social interactions, being around social anxiety, slowly tiptoeing your way into maybe joining a group and sitting in the back, and then slowly working your way into actively engaging within the group. Let's talk about physical symptoms. Resistance can manifest physically through symptoms such as tension, headaches, digestive issues, and chronic fatigue. These physical manifestations may indicate underlying stress, anxiety, or emotional distress related to resistance. So a lot of our trauma symptoms or anxiety symptoms come from this place of resistance. That's why it's so important to address it and learn ways to ease our way through it. It's always hardest at first. The very beginning steps are the hardest. But once you start showing up every single day for yourself, for your family, for your friends, it will get easier. It's just like when you're working out or creating a new habit. It takes 28 days to create those neural pathways. And so the more you show up, the easier it will get. Even, quitting smoking, drinking, or any other drug, it's the same thing. You're going to feel a lot of resistance at first because you're not going to want to change. It's hard. And your body, because it has become dependent on these chemicals or these hormones, if it's stress, sometimes we become addicted to stress too, if that's all we knew growing up. And it's not our fault. It's just what happens to us when we're constantly exposed to something for so long. Our bodies are like, okay, so this is baseline normal, so we need to maintain this. And so we seek environments, people, experiences that evoke or push those stress chemicals through our bodies, like cortisol and adrenaline. But prolonged exposure to that is detrimental to our body and to our mind. So, like, feeling all this resistance and everything, it shows up for us through tension. And that's why I provide so many relaxation type meditations, and we're going to have a lot more practices like that on this channel, because that's what we need for trauma survivors. It's hard for us to relax because our nervous system's on high alert. So we tend to experience a lot more resistance than someone else, because we literally just change does not feel safe within our bodies, our nervous systems. We tend to want a little bit more control and structure. And unfortunately, we can try to implement as much control and structure within our lives, but we can't control everything. And it comes to a point where we have to learn new skills and be able to expand our tolerance. And this whole channel is going to be providing you with exercises and information on how to expand your window of tolerance. Feeling stuck or stagnant. Feeling stuck in a rut or experiencing a sense of stagnation in our personal or professional lives may suggest a presence of resistance. So when you are feeling that place of feeling stuck and you don't know what to do next, ask yourself, what is it that I'm resisting? Is it that I need to change up my routine, maybe? Try something new? Like, what am I stopping myself from experiencing? Because that's usually why you're feeling stuck or stagnant. It's a form of resistance within your body. It's a lot milder. And a lot of people miss that. They think that they have to do something major, but really it's just something simple. And we'll discuss that when we talk about mindfulness and just switching up little things within our daily routine, and how that can make a huge impact on our lives and keep us from getting bored or feeling stuck and stagnant. And also the importance of education and continuing education and reading and things like that, and how that can also and will also help us. If you're struggling in a specific area in your life, like maybe it's financials or weight loss, nutrition, something within your health, become your own expert. Do your research and learn more about it, and get proactive in your healing, because trauma and healing, it's all the same thing. Everything's connected. Our bodies, our nutrition, all that stress and everything contributes to our inability to, our executive functioning, our ability to lose weight. Stress clings to our bodies, and that's why we tend to hold on to stress within our midsection. So it's important that, when you're feeling these things, to address it and realize that the more we heal, the more we actually are healing our mind and body. Blaming external factors. Externalizing responsibility and blaming outside circumstances or other people for our challenges or lack of progress is actually a sign of resistance as well. And I think that's something that a lot of people overlook. It deflects our accountability and prevents us from taking ownership of our choices and actions. When we go around and we blame, don't get me wrong, there are systems in place and conditioning in place and a lot of things that do contribute to our daily struggles and our stress levels and our mental health. However, there is a very important part that we miss when we focus on that. So we have to sit there and think about, what can we control? What can we work on? And, we're not going to completely diminish the fact that there are external issues out there. If that's something that you feel passionate about and want to advocate for, go for it. But it's important to not always point the finger or look for someone to blame for why we are feeling stagnant, why we're not reaching our goals, why we're not getting better, healing, whatever it is that you are, working towards. We're all working towards something. whether it be better relationships. If you're here on the channel, I'm assuming you're here to work on something, right? So we have to take responsibility and be very honest with ourselves. Like, that's the biggest part of healing, is really sitting down and being like, what am I doing that's stopping myself? Like, let's be really objective about it. Let's take our emotions out of it, take our past out of it, our relationship issues, whatever it is. What am I doing that I can do better? Do I need to work on my spending habits and maybe start cooking more at home, not stopping at Starbucks as much, maybe not going out and for drinks, and maybe having some people over and doing a little get together that way because it's a little bit cheaper. Whatever the case may be, wherever you can it's like cutting the fat, you know what I mean? It's getting rid of all the excess, just like how we purge our homes of all the excess stuff every once in a while. We should be doing that with our habits and our lifestyle, food, and anything that's just not contributing to our goals, and be honest about it. And I'm not saying completely cut out all the fun stuff either. You want to make sure that you are scheduling and enjoying your time. That's super important for your mental health, and I very much encourage just being and just laying around and doing absolutely nothing every once in a while. It's so important. And if you follow me on social media, you will hear me harp about it all the time. It's my favorite thing to do. To be completely honest, if I could just lay around and daydream and stare at the trees and completely get lost in the sensory experience of being outside and walking through the woods and looking at all the little mushrooms and little ecosystems, I'd be happy as a clam. But unfortunately, we do have real responsibilities, and I do have to pay my bills, so I do have to remind myself to come back into the present not only the present moment of a sensory experience, but also reality and my life here as a human being on earth, right? So taking accountability and not always looking for something to blame for our issues or for why we didn't do the thing or why we didn't wake up, and just implementing strategies so that we don't keep having those issues, right? And then that will go into the next one, which is recurring patterns or sabotage. Recognizing recurring patterns or behaviors or of self-sabotage within our lives is where we can also find resistance. So if we keep noticing a pattern within our lives, like paying the bills, maybe we can dive deeper into what is going on really there. Is it something, maybe it's a part within ourselves that feels like we didn't get a chance to truly experience life and have fun, and we deserve it now. We've worked so hard. Maybe you need to work with that part of yourself and revisit your why. Why are you doing what you're doing? Is short-term sacrifice worth the long-term gains? You know what I mean? So a good way to do this is through habit trackers or journaling, and just keeping track and logging these things. You don't have to do it forever. It's not something I do anymore. I don't necessarily go into that much detail, but in the beginning I did, and it was helpful. And I do, I will discuss how I track my habits now, which still, once again, it's not something I do on a super, super consistent basis like I did in the past when I was really trying to cut the fat and really trying to push through it and get to a goal, right? And if I need to do that, I will. But as right now, I just don't feel like it's necessary. So it's important to realize that we have different phases in our lives and different strategies for those different phases. And it's just nice to have a little toolkit of all these different strategies for those different phases. And that's what this channel is about, is giving you those different tools and resources. Resistance and mental health challenges often form a vicious cycle with one feeding into the other. For example, Someone experiencing symptoms of anxiety may resist seeking help due to fear of judgment or rejection, which only exacerbates their anxiety symptoms. Similarly, someone struggling with depression may resist engaging in activities that once brought them joy, further leading them into isolation and despair. You see how resistance can just kind of send us through a loop? Unresolved resistance can have profound negative consequences, from missed opportunities for growth to persistent stress and emotional stagnation. The first step to breaking free from the cycle of resistance is to recognize these signs within ourselves and within our life and acknowledge their impact that they're having. This is where, like I talked about earlier, is being honest with ourselves and really looking at our habits and deciding, is this habit truly helping us get closer to our goals, or is it holding us back? Even if you have to do a pros and cons list, or some other habits are just really easy. Like for me, I used to be a cigarette smoker. That was a really easy one to look at, and I didn't have to do much calculation to know that was something that was holding me back financially and my physical and mental health. So, it took time, but I was able to quit that. It's been 4 years now that I haven't touched a cigarette, and that's crazy for me because I started back when I was 14 years old. I thought I would never be able to quit. So it was just me sitting down and being very honest with myself and evaluating, this is costing me a lot of money. Could you imagine, especially now, I live in New York State. A pack of cigarettes is like anywhere from $12 to $14, depending on where I am in the state. Every single day. Like, could you imagine? And I didn't even do the math because I didn't want to. I didn't want to know the numbers. But anyways, the point is that we have to be honest with ourselves. Pay attention to what's going on within our lives and go introspective and stop, like I said before, stop looking around for other external reasons for why our life may not be going in the direction we want it to go in. Between these two videos, Understanding Resistance, and this one, Overcoming Resistance, and the accompanying meditations and the reflective exercises uploaded to my free Facebook group, I'm confident that you will be able to burst through the barriers that are holding you back from achieving your goals. If you are not already a part of our free Facebook group, I do invite you to go ahead and join us. It's linked below in all of our videos. If it's not, I apologize. Maybe I forgot. But there's a link on the channel that's our fans link, which has all of our links, whether it be our Facebook group, the YouTube channel, social media. All those links are there for you to click on, and you can join our free Facebook group there to gain access. It is free, completely free, and there you'll gain access to not only updates but also to any worksheets that I upload to the channel to help people integrate what they've learned, and even journaling prompts, what have you, is all on there. So I look forward to seeing you there. And without further ado, here are some techniques that can help us restore balance to our autonomic nervous system function and enhance our capacity for coping with emotional regulation, which is going to help with the resistance. I discussed this in the Understanding Resistance video, and we talk about how it really is just dysregulation and kind of like a safety issue within our nervous system, and that's why we feel that resistance to making change or advancing in towards our goals. First one is vagal nerve stimulation. This is a therapeutic technique that involves stimulating the vagus nerve. This is huge, and it's going to be all over my channel because this is what I specialize in. So it's a non-invasive method that we can do for ourselves. That's the coolest thing about it, is we can stimulate our vagus nerve without having to go see a therapist, without having to go see a healer. So it's free, and we can do it by doing simple things like humming and or singing, massaging our neck, and doing just basic self-care things. Like I do every day in the shower, I do a lymphatic drainage massage, which I will show you guys in a separate video. And we will talk more about how that is important for us, especially with CPTSD, because a lot of us have autoimmune disorders. It's another topic we'll discuss. But when I'm doing that, I'm also doing a gentle neck massage. Also, when if we wash our face and we put lotion, we can do a little bit of neck massage. And when we do so, we're stimulating the vagus nerve that runs down the sides of our neck. And what this has been shown to do is promote relaxation, reduce stress, and improve our emotional regulation by activating the parasympathetic nervous system and inhibiting the sympathetic arousal. So sympathetic arousal, as we discussed in the first video, is that fight or flight response, and that is what's causing our resistance. So, as we stimulate the vagus nerve, we can help literally calm down that resistance within that moment even. So if you're feeling some resistance in that moment, stimming, if you're neurodivergent and if you heard the term stimming, this is why. Because it helps you regulate your nervous system, and every human being can stim. And this is what it's doing. Vagus nerve stimulation, stimming, it's the same thing. So let's say you have me, when I'm going to record these videos, I always do vocal warm-ups, and in doing so, it stimulates my vagus nerve. Also, I do breath work, which also stimulates my vagus nerve. These are all things that help me relax, to be able to come into the moment and not stress about fear of shame and judgment and all the things that come with putting yourself out there on social media and on YouTube. And for you, maybe you're going to speak in front of a class, or you're also doing a presentation or something of that sort. You can also do these things, do vocal warm-ups and breath work, and all these things are going to help you to relax and be able to get to a place where you're not so fight or flight and maybe speaking too fast or fumbling over your words, all these different things. So, or even maybe you're having a conversation with your partner and maybe it's getting a little intense and you're feeling discomfort. Rub your neck, take some deep breaths. These things will help you to be able to work through these uncomfortable situations. Mindfulness-based practices. So like things like meditation, yoga, tai chi, any form of martial arts really, or any kind of, I would say, low intensity workouts, Pilates, bar, anything that kind of puts my like a breath to a movement is going to be a mindfulness-based practice. Even going for a walk is considered a mindfulness-based practice. Journaling, there's so many different things that you can do. All these practices help us regulate our autonomic nervous system by enhancing our vagal tone and reducing the sympathetic arousal that we had discussed earlier. By cultivating mindfulness skills, we increase our capacity for self-awareness, emotional regulation, and stress resilience. So this is why it's so important to these things help us come into our body and help us come into the now. So it's just really important every day to give yourself some time to not stress about what's going on tomorrow or what we have to do later or all the things on our to-do list. These things, this is why sometimes we're feeling so much resistance, is because we're constantly faced with things to do, and like, no wonder you're feeling so tense and anxious, right? Because you just want to relax. You just want to watch a YouTube video. You just want to enjoy the nature. You just want to listen to your kids laugh. The thing about it is, when we experience trauma, or especially complex trauma, it's very hard for us to feel okay and our nervous system to feel relaxed enough to be able to enjoy those moments and actually feel relaxed right? So when we do these meditations and we practice relaxation, we get better at it. Everything, we get better with practice, no matter what we do. And this includes relaxation and being present. So making sure that you incorporate some kind of mindfulness-based practice, whether it's a walk, a 10-minute walk even, during your lunch break, and just observe the trees and observe any colors and how the wind feels and how the sun, the warmth of the sun feels on your arms. And just don't think about what you have to do at work or what you have to do at home, wherever you're at. Just completely get lost in the sensory experiences of being alive. And that will help to calm down any resistance you're feeling that day, and that anxious tension that you feel when you don't allow yourself breaks and time to rest and allow the hormones in your body to produce happy chemicals like serotonin, right? And I just want to let you know, if you're struggling with any of this stuff, it's so normal. Don't beat yourself up about it. We all, if you experience trauma, even if it's acute trauma, which is just like something that's not going to last for a long time, the symptoms aren't going to last for a long extended period of time, you're still gonna experience all these things, and it's very normal. And you won't be able to relax, and maybe you won't be able to sleep, and all these things. It's not anything you're doing wrong. It's your nervous system doing its job and trying to keep you safe. Trauma-informed therapies, such as sensory motor psychotherapy, trauma-informed yoga, and somatic experiencing. A lot of yoga instructors and yoga therapists, even occupational therapists, are coming out with free or fairly cheap memberships that you can join for somatic healing. And these things will help you get out of your head. So I know for me, when I'm feeling stressed or anxious or feeling resistance within my body or within my mind, I don't want to talk about it. Talking about it is the last thing. It's only going to make things worse for me. It's going to make me shut down, to be honest. So for me, it's I have to work it through my body, work through the resistance through, literally. So that for me is incorporating movement and, like I said, trauma-informed yoga, somatic experiencing, somatic healing. If you ever hear those words, those are all things that are going to help you work those emotions and that resistance and that tension out of your body, so that you can then move on to the next step, right? So these therapies address the neurobiological effects of trauma on our nervous system and help us process the traumatic memories and regulate our emotional responses. These therapies focus on creating a safe and supportive environment, promoting empowerment, and facilitating integration of our traumatic experiences into our being. By addressing underlying trauma or trauma-related dysregulation, we can restore balance in our nervous system and enhance our capacity to adapt and cope with resistance or change, or moving on and healing. So if anything I've mentioned here sounds familiar to you, maybe this is something you want to try, and it's something I'm going to be bringing to this channel because this is what has helped me. I can't do talk therapy. I've mentioned this within the free group. It just doesn't work for me. I'm not a talker, I'm a doer. It's just how I am. Like, I process things internally. It's that's my childhood trauma of having to process things internally, and trying to force myself to then externalize my thoughts does not feel good. And within my relationships, even my partner understands that, and so we give each, and he's the same way. So we're able to give ourselves space to kind of process things on our own. I process it within my head. He does the same thing. We calm down. And then later on, when we are regulated, we're able to come together and have those harder conversations. And even within those hard conversations, when we start feeling like aroused and defensive, we know how to calm ourselves down. Maybe take some breaths, rub my neck. Sometimes it would say, you know what, let me take a break, because next thing I have nothing nice to say right now, or something like that. Walk away from each other, things like that. These are where these tools come into play within our lives, right? So I wanted to discuss the importance of cognitive restructuring for our healing journey here, because it's going to help us get through resistance. And I also wanted to clear up some misconceptions and discuss the probability or the possibility of us gaslighting ourselves through cognitive restructuring. So what cognitive restructuring is us reframing our limiting beliefs and offering ourselves a different outlook on our situation. Now, this can absolutely veer into the toxic positivity realm, and it can get dangerous, where we gaslight ourselves into thinking that we are safe when we're not, or that a person is good when they're actually harming us, right? So it's important to use discernment here and to be very honest with ourselves when it comes to reframing. And I want to make it very clear that we are not here to disregard the reality of what's going on. We want to acknowledge the reality and then reframe it in a way that will help us make change, not in a way that will help us avoid dealing with the issue. Okay? You understand where I'm going with this? Maybe as I go through this a little bit further, it'll help you understand a little bit better if maybe it's not coming across so clear. So here's how we should be doing it. We want to identify a negative thought pattern. Within CBT, they do call it cognitive distortion. And I know some people they don't like that wording. So we'll call it maybe negative self-talk. Like, use the words "I can't" a lot. Is that part of your vocabulary? And how, just evaluate that. How is that possibly affecting your life? Are there ways or situations where you use the words "I can't" and it's possibly stopped you from doing something or trying something? I know for me, even just working out, I noticed it's come up a lot for me, where I'll just be like, no, I can't do that. So I'll try to modify that exercise, that movement, and I've noticed that I'm so quick to do that. So in what ways in my life am I so quick to not try to challenge myself and try to stick within my comfort zones? And how has that stopped me from being able to accomplish some of my goals? And that was a fun rabbit hole to go down. And so now I am trying very hard to catch myself. When I catch myself modifying something, before even trying it, I catch myself and I will correct myself. And eventually that will just be a natural thing for me. And I will be more prone to trying new things before I modify, which is super important and for what I'm trying to do, at least in my life. So now we want to challenge that negative thought, right? So once we have pinpointed or identified the negative thought pattern, whether it be I say I can't a lot, I believe I'm a failure, I think I'm ugly, even saying I'm fat. Even if you are overweight, that's fine. It's just, we want to change the wording of that. And this is where we're going to do it. We're going to challenge it. Am I fat or am I just stressed? I'm very stressed. And so being overweight or considering I'm fat or whatever it may be, whatever words you use to describe yourself, is the result of being stressed. You as an individual are not fat. You are stressed and being overweight, or not looking maybe not being as toned as you want to look. Because some people will say they're fat and you look at them and you're just like, if you're fat, then I'm obese, so that's just why I say it this way. You're not as toned as you want to be. You don't have as much definition in your muscles, or whatever the case may be. That is not who you are. It is a symptom of a bigger issue, and that's where we're trying to get down to the root of what is the bigger issue. And so that's what we're doing when we're challenging these negative thoughts. Am I fat, really? Or am I really, really stressed out, and this is my coping mechanism, So, am I bad at money, or do I just really, really, really feel that I deserve to, spend and splurge every once in a while? Because you're not wrong for thinking these things, and you shouldn't be beating yourself up for thinking something like that, right? It's just the way we word things to ourselves. It's important. We want to question the accuracy and the validity of the statements that we tell ourselves. And if they're not true, reword them and start talking to ourselves with a little bit more compassion. Here's an example. If we believe that we're a failure because maybe we didn't succeed at a task, we might want to challenge this thought by considering past times where we have had successes. So that is us challenging this negative thought pattern. It's like, you know what? Do I really suck at, let's see, am I really a bad cook, or did I just that one time burn the rice? You know what I mean? Do I make a banging eggs, or even if it's something, it doesn't have to be anything crazy, or do I make a really good salad? Hey, that's you challenging a negative thought, right? Because we tend to overgeneralize. So by challenging those negative things that we say to ourselves with, by looking at the validity of them and be like, actually, I'm really good at drawing, or I might not be good at this, but I'm super creative and I can use that in different ways. That's all we're trying to do. We're not trying to gaslight ourselves or convince ourselves that a situation or someone is safe when they're not. But we can go down that route. It's if we're looking for a reason to escape or to avoid a situation. So once we've identified and we've challenged a limiting belief, we then want to reframe it. So deeply held assumptions about ourselves or others can hinder our growth and well-being. So by examining the origins and consequences of these beliefs, we can develop more adaptive and empowering alternatives. For example, someone who holds the limiting belief that they're unworthy of love may explore evidence of the contrary, such as past relationships, friendships, or acts of kindness from others. So this is, like I said, where we're going to say, you know what? That's not true. Actually, people do love me. People check in on me, maybe, or they do care about me. It's really hard sometimes to feel like people don't care. Because people show love in funny ways sometimes. And that's another thing. Sometimes we think that people don't love us, but their version of showing love can be being a little hard on us or being critical of us, because that's the only way that they personally know how to show love, because that's how they were shown love. It's the cycle that continues forever until we finally put a stop to it. We recognize it and we stop it. By engaging in cognitive restructuring, we can challenge negative thought patterns, reframe our limiting beliefs, and cultivate a more positive and adaptive mindset. This process not only helps us overcome our resistance, but also fosters greater resilience, self-awareness, and well-being, empowering us to navigate life's challenges with greater ease and grace. If you would like to explore any of the techniques discussed within this video, or even maybe look into some more like the cognitive restructuring, I do have some worksheets, like I mentioned earlier, within the free Facebook group that you can download and go through and do a little cognitive restructuring exercise for yourself. There's some journaling prompts in there, and just some great resources for you to help you with, get through your resistance. In the journey of overcoming deep-seated resistance, there may come a time where we need to seek professional support from a therapist, counselor, or coach trained in trauma-informed therapies or practices. I just wanted to let you know that if this is you, if you're struggling and you feel like you may need some help and the self-help thing just isn't quite working for you, it's okay. Don't be afraid to admit that you need a little additional help. That's why these people are there. If you are able to get those resources, use them if it's available to you. So I just want to throw that out there because I know sometimes we judge ourselves for needing the help. Some people do need medication to help them get through resistance until they can learn to get through and build their window of tolerance, like we talked about earlier, right? And that's okay. The point of medication is to kind of get you through the resistance stages, and then you want to start weaning yourself off of it. If you do have a therapist or a psychiatrist that has kind of doesn't have a plan to wean you off of the medications, then there's something maybe you might want to advocate for. But they you just talk to them about it, because there are some conditions where it's not advisable, that you might have to take medication, forever. And there's nothing wrong with that. We want to keep you healthy and be able to be an active member of society and in your own life, right? And if having to take medication is how that is going to improve your quality of life, then, do so. It's okay to, admit or kind of say, hey, I need this. It's okay. Some people do. And it's very normal part of, unfortunately, the impacts of trauma, unfortunately. So, well, that's all I have for you today. It was my honor to explore the profound impacts of resistance on our lives with you and discuss some practical strategies for overcoming it. I hope you learned something, or maybe we're able to see how you can use all these mindfulness and all these things that we're always talking about, taking deep breaths and going for a walk and grounding techniques. I hope you're able to now see maybe some situations where those will be useful, or that you can use and apply it to your own life, especially like I said, because I feel the most resistance when I'm interacting with people, usually, because I feel like a lot of times they're projecting onto me a little bit, like their fears, or trying to force me to do something I don't want to do, force me to do something their way. So for me, I feel a lot of resistance there. And then, I also feel resistance sometimes when I get feedback. Part of my childhood trauma is dealing with someone, a lot of people in my life actually, who didn't really mirror any of my good traits. They only, criticized me and told me I was doing stuff wrong, and never actually said, hey, you're actually doing something right for once. So when I receive criticism, although I openly encourage it all the time because I know it's something that's important, I do feel resistance sometimes. And there's sometimes where I'll feel it in my chest, oh, that hurt, or in my belly. That shame usually hits me in the belly. So, when I feel those things, I do feel the resistance. I know how to work through it. I will sit with it and do either some breath work, or I'll move through it if it's really tensing me up and I haven't moved out of that feeling yet. And then I will adjust if I need to. Within actually my last video, understanding resistance, someone in the comments had mentioned, hey, try not to read your script so much. You know, she didn't use those, or he or she didn't use those exact words, but I did feel a little resistance inside me. I knew that they were right. They're absolutely right. It's important that my personality comes out in these videos, so that it's not so boring and that you guys actually connect with me as an inner work guide. And so although I did feel it a little bit, it eased up really quickly. And in this video, I made it a point, even though I'm sure it's going to be a lot longer than my last video, to not read completely off the script, to only use my script as a guide to keep me on track. So hopefully you guys saw the difference and are able to maybe use some of the techniques I mentioned, and I will continue mentioning throughout this channel. So I wanted to thank each and every one of you for joining me today. Remember, you hold the key to breaking through your resistance and embracing a life of greater fulfillment and well-being. You have the power to change your life. Only thing other people can do for you is tell you what worked for them and give you a guide, but at the end of the day, it's you that has to work through it, right? So hopefully this video has given you some tools to use to help you, and this channel will be a great resource for you. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell to stay updated on any upcoming videos. And together, let's continue to support each other on our path to growth and transformation. I'm still healing and growing too, so we do it together. And I look forward to meeting you and getting to know you a little bit better in the comments, as well as in the Facebook group. Until next time, stay empowered, stay resilient, and stay blessed.